What's your reaction, Mr. Wade?
Well, from the start, when this happened, I thought it was a case where he should have the death penalty. I've said that all along, told the jury that, and we asked...
Henry Wade, the district attorney.
And we asked for it. I think the facts fully warranted. I think it was an assassination in itself of a man handcuffed in police custody, and I think it went actually deeper than that, than who the person was killed. I think it was more of a, you might say, a murder or killing of our government by law rather than men. I think it actually is a step. It even advances civilization quite a bit, I believe, by this verdict. That's my theory.
How does it advance civilization?
Well, a not guilty, I think, would have put it back toward barbarianism or lynch law of each individual citizen deciding who should be killed or who shouldn't be killed.
Mr. Wade, were you surprised at the rather quick decision by the jury?
Well, last night I wasn't satisfied with my argument to the jury at all, and felt awful low about it last night. When the verdict came in within a little over 2 hours, I thought we had either life or death. I didn't know which.
Mr. Wade, Mr. Belli referred to this as railroading and the biggest disgrace in the history of American law.
I think that's his fugue state he's talking about, the way I saw him yelling and screaming up there. I believe it's the first time he ever lost a case, from the way he talks.
Do you feel some sense of satisfaction of having won this case?
Well, I guess anybody that wins any case, you go ask a jury to return a certain verdict and they return it. I'm very well satisfied with it and think it was the proper verdict.
What does this jury verdict coming so quickly signify?
I don't think it actually signifies anything. See, we've had death penalties in 7 minutes here in Dallas. This was over 2 hours. So I think it signified that the jury, by the evidence, that had pretty well made up their mind whether that he wasn't insane, that he was sane, and had pretty well thought about this during the night, and didn't take them long to deliberate to arrive at the verdict.
Mr. Wade, prior to the verdict, you had said numerous times that you expected anything from acquittal to death in the electric chair. Did you really feel this way, sir, or was that just a statement for the press?
Well, I didn't think the acquittal or a term of years was the proper verdict in the thing, but I've tried a lot of cases, and I know juries can do nearly anything. I think we got to the jury in a lot better shape on the facts than we were really entitled to. They pitched their whole case on insanity and made a weak case on it, and rather than asking for mercy or leniency. And so the jury probably subconsciously got the idea it's either insanity or death.
The defense is contended
Mr. Wade, how would you have defended Jack Ruby?
Well, I don't defend any here, but I think I would have tried to go for leniency rather than all out on insanity.
The defense has contended all along, sir, that the judge ruled for the prosecution all the way down the line. Could we get your reaction to that, sir?
Of course, if he ruled for us when he shouldn't, the higher courts will reverse the case and send it back. All that'll be on appeal.
This is the 25th murder case you have won, isn't it, Mr. Wade?
Yes, about that many, I believe. 24 or 25.
Which was the hardest?
Well, I know this was I know I was the tiredest in this one last night. I was utterly fatigued to the extreme last night.
Mr. Wade, you say you were tired. The jurors were obviously tired. The defendant was. Do you think that this move along attitude of the case had any effect whatsoever on the verdict, or at least on how fast it came out, sir?
Well, I think the jury, as they hear each witness, they make up their mind or start forming a frame of mind of whether they think he's guilty and what they're going to do with him. And I think they've been up there 4 weeks now, some of them have, and the testimony's been going on now 10 days, I believe. And I think the length of the trial makes the verdict a little easier for the jury, quicker for the jury to arrive at.
Mr. Wade, this trial had more press coverage perhaps than any other in history. Did this put you under a particular strain in trying the case?
No, not that I know of. We've had press coverage on others, not to this extent here, but we're used to having the press around.
Mr. Wade, what do you, in retrospect, consider the best item of evidence or testimony that you had in the trial, sir?
Well, by far, the testimony that gave him the electric chair was the officer's testimony, showing premeditation, that he decided to kill the man, or talked about, or thought about killing him 2 days before, then took a gun, loaded gun, into the police station and assassinated him as it was seen on television. And then the statements he made thereafter with reference to, I hope I killed the SOB, and I meant to shoot him 3 times, but y'all stopped me. Things of that kind is the type of thing that would give people a death penalty.
Mr. Wade, what do you plan to do now? Go right to work again on Monday, or do you plan a vacation?
Well, I'm going to try to catch up. See, I have I'm behind in all of my work in my office. As a matter of fact, I have over a week's dictation of answering some letters, not on this case, but on other matters from the regular routine of the office.
Mr. Wade, do you regard the outcome of this trial as vindication of Dallas?
I don't think Dallas, I don't think that was, Mr. Belli wanted that to be the thing. I don't think Dallas was on trial. I don't think I was on trial. I don't think Belli was on trial. I think Jack Ruby was on trial. I think it was a murder case that had more implications probably than the ordinary killing, because of the fact you're killing a man handcuffed that's innocent until he's proven guilty. And I think that's made this a different case from the ordinary murder case.
Mr. Wade, was this an expensive case, or perhaps the most expensive case that you have worked on as far as the county of Dallas is concerned?
I don't know what it cost. From our point of view, I think all of our doctors and all the travel in the case was something around $3,500. Many of our doctors were willing to come at their own expense. I think we're going to pay them a minimum fee of $100 a day while they were here.
How is it that you were able to secure the services of some rather noted people who previously had not been expected to appear?
We just checked and found out who the outstanding authorities in the field of neurology and encephalograph and psychiatry, and brought them in here. We brought in 2 other top psychiatrists out of New York and asked Ruby to talk to him, and he wouldn't talk to him on advice of his lawyer, and we didn't get to use them. They were willing to testify, but they didn't talk to him but 5 minutes.
Mr. Wade, did you add any of these doctors after seeing some of the defense testimony? Did you add doctors at the last minute?
No, we took this encephalogram around to all these doctors a month ago and let them examine it. Dr. Swab and Dr. Forrester and Dr. McKay and Dr. Walker and Dr. Calloway, they've all seen this about a month ago.
Mr. Wade, the defense has contended after the trial that the jury just did not pay any attention to the psychiatric testimony up there. What is your evaluation of the jury's attentiveness on this point, sir?
I think the jury listened to all of it. I think I've tried a number of cases where they had psychiatry as a defense, and I will say that I thought they put up as weakest psychiatric defense if I've ever seen.
Do you consider this one of your greatest legal victories?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily a victory for me. It's a victory for all law enforcement, I think. My old staff worked on it.
How many of your staff worked on it, sir?
I had about 10 or 12 that worked on it.
I said it was a victory for the Dallas oligarchy. What do you say about that?
Well, of course, that's a figment of his imagination, the oligarchy here. They, like any town, they have some leaders here that try to help out on civic matters, but politically and otherwise, independents and everybody else are elected here.
Mr. Wade, if you would look back over the entire last 3 months or so, all of the events, and the long testimony of this trial, what would you describe as the legal significance of this verdict?
Well, I think It's a little hard to say. I've been very happy that I've received letters and from defense attorneys all over the country. Ordinarily, they're on the side of the defendant, giving advice on what ought to be done and arguments because they said we think the rule of law is actually on trial in that case. I'm inclined to think it was to some extent. I may exaggerate it. Because in any murder case, if the deceased is a person of bad character or some reason maybe that he ought to have been disposed of, it's hard to get a verdict. But I think the jury recognized that this was more than just killing a person, that if he was the assassin, if he had killed Kennedy, should have had the electric chair. I'm talking about Oswald. I think that this went deeper than that because you had a man that took the law into his own hands and killed a handcuffed man that was innocent until he is proven guilty.
Mr. Wade, as far as you personally are concerned, does the sentence just passed here close the events that began on November 22nd as far as you are concerned?
Well, it'll close it. We have to now start on the next 2 or 3 years. This thing will be in the appellate courts. See, this will be appealed. The law, Texas law requires the Court of Criminal Appeals to hear any death penalty. It'll first go there, and we hope we'll have to do lots of briefing on it. We'll have to argue it there. Then it can go to the United States Supreme Court, which we'll have to be ready to argue it there. And I think it'll be in the appellate courts for 2 years anyhow, and I have specialists in that that'll do most of that work.
Mr. Wade, something that had been bothering a lot of people was the question of whether or not there was any link whatsoever between Jack Ruby and Lee Oswald. This wasn't clarified in court. Could you clarify it for us?
Well, it's one of those things that you can't prove. As a matter of fact, if we had anybody that we thought could establish it, we'd put them on the stand. I will say we had 10 or 12 witnesses that were willing to testify that they had seen them together, but I didn't believe any of the witnesses. Some of them were given lie detectors and showed they weren't telling the truth. And there's nothing, we had nothing where we could legally prove that he was.
As far as you are concerned, then, from your investigation, Ruby was acting alone and Oswald was acting alone.
That's the theory we tried the case on entirely. We had no, whether there was a connection or not, we don't know. We have no proof of it, and we assume that there was not.
Mr. Wade, you have testified before the Warren Commission.
Well, I don't know. I asked for it and was satisfied with it.
You have already testified once before the Warren Commission. Do you feel that the verdict in today's case, or the trial, in fact, would lead them to recall you? Do you have any further information to pass along to them?
Well, they've been holding up some matters, I think, dealing with Ruby till after this trial was over that they may go into now. I don't know. If they are, we will help them any way we can.